I'm going to give you some introductions. When we ask for a bio, they send me essays, and so, because they're all so damn accomplished. So forgive me as I read. I don't necessarily like reading off of a piece of paper when I'm, got a mic in front of me, but I'm gonna do it. Hannah Hammond. Hello, Hannah Hammond. Raise your hand, please. Let everybody know who you are. Yeah, there she is. All right, Hannah Hammond is the CEO and founder of the real estate brokerage called The Firm. Hannah is a resilient entrepreneur who overcame adversity to achieve remarkable success. She has a degree in engineering from ASU and became a prominent figure in Arizona's real estate scene, founding businesses including Cashed, a private money company, and The Firm real estate brokerage. By the age of 25, she became a self-made millionaire, demonstrating her unwavering determination and business prowess. Shh, thank you. As owner and CEO, she continues to lead with integrity, shaping the real estate and lending landscape both locally. Guys, please, I'll kick you out. Thank you. She is going to speak tonight on commercial real estate, which a lot of us don't actually have the opportunity to talk about or get into because I'm a single family guy. Many of us deal in single family, but there is a massive opportunity, I believe, around the corner. She might disagree with me on commercial real estate, so we're going to pick her brain about that. Monique Walker. Monique.
Can I share something?
Yes.
That you just shared with me? Yeah. She just put $14 million under contract. Real estate under contract.
This week or this day?
Today.
Wow.
Today.
Wow.
Rockstar.
Let's go. Congrats. Incredible. All right. Isaiah Britton. Isaiah Britton's at the end of the panel over there. He's a co-owner of a Keegley franchise in Las Vegas, I believe, correct? Isaiah Britton is a father of two and a real estate entrepreneur from Phoenix, Arizona. He owns a real estate company that focuses on residential wholesaling. He's got 10 siblings. Imagine that. How did you guys figure out who sat where? How many couches did you have? So many questions.
I was just worried about making sure there was food left.
Where were you in the group of 10?
Number 7, youngest of the 5 boys.
Youngest of the 5. Oh, so you didn't eat. You look healthy for number 5 of the boys and number 7 of the kids. So congratulations. No wonder you're here. He learned the value of communication and building relationships, and that allowed him for rapid growth in this very competitive industry. Beyond that, Anthony and his brothers have successfully closed over $25 million in property transactions in the last 3 years. So give it up for Isaiah Britton. Thank you. Incredible. Monique Walker, some of you already know who she is, but Monique Walker is an incredible friend of mine. I've known her for over a decade now. But Monique is 100% committed to making sure that the sales of, I don't even want to say this because you're so much more than this. Gosh, let's just say she's like the most badass real estate agent in all of Arizona, I think in all of the country.
And because of you, so thank you.
Well, we'll get into that. But her and I closed over $1 million in deals. We do hundreds of thousands of dollars in business every year, 5-ish deals a month. This is the kind of individual that you want to have relationships with. But we're going to talk about that today. So thank you for being here, Monique Walker. Jacob Furman, am I saying it right?
Furman, yeah.
Furman, Jacob Furman, Chief Loan Officer. Man, you shot up in that company. Man, this guy used to take my emails. He doesn't anymore. So Jacob, he's the Chief Loan Officer at Capital Fund One. Just so you guys know, Capital Fund is how I financed my real estate business. When I first came to Arizona, I was so broke. I had very little. And I got to meet Noah, who is President of Capital Fund. And he changed my world, helped me out in so many different ways. And so I've got a lot of love for Capital Fund. And you, as their Chief Loan Officer, he's a seasoned hard money sales leader with over 5 years experience in real estate financing. As the Chief Arizona Loan Officer for Capital Fund One, he specializes in providing fast and reliable solutions to investors. Who in here has used Capital Fund for a loan? Show of hands. So who in here is buying real estate? Show of hands. Okay, so all of you need to talk to these guys before you leave. They're your money source. And they really are committed to their client success. I can vouch for that because not only am I a borrower of theirs, but you guys have a couple $1 million on mine. So they're also where I invest my money. So give it up for Jacob. All right. Oh, hold on. Outside of work, he enjoys off-roading and getting speeding tickets. What the hell, dude? This in your bio?
Not anymore. Not anymore.
That's so good. I love it. We're gonna have to talk about that. Speeding tickets. All right. So, thank you first for agreeing to be on this panel. You know I'm gonna totally make this fun, I hope, but maybe kooky or whatever. But thank you guys for your attention here as well. These are very special people. All right, let's start off with picking the right partners.
Forgot a panelist.
Oh, who did I? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I did.
It's okay.
No, it's not okay. Because it's on the second page. Jennifer Boyd is the Vice President and Escrow Administrator for Fidelity National Title. Jen is a seasoned professional in the title and escrow industry, boasting over 30 years in the business, with the last 23 dedicated to Fidelity National Title. That's a long time. Do you have a tattoo, Fidelity tattoo?
I don't, but I should.
What are you doing after this? Let's go get Fidelity tattoo. Who's with us? Having honed her skills in running her own escrow desk and managing a branch, Jen transitioned to the operations side in 2016, where she's currently serving as the Vice President and Escrow Administrator. Her commitment to nurturing talent and fostering growth within the industry is unparalleled, and it's evident in her passion for discovering and cultivating top-tier professionals, which is really difficult in title and escrow, because finding incredible people is hard, and keeping them is even harder, and you guys have done a phenomenal job. So knowing now that that's because of you, thank you. Thank you for that. Who here uses Fidelity National Title, by the way, for your title and escrow? Amazing. Who's not using Fidelity Title? Just be honest. Okay, stop it. They're incredible. You got to get to know these guys. They're everything about how they operate is wonderful. So make sure that you reach out to them before you go. Jen's dedication extends to providing invaluable resources to her escrow teams, recognizing their pivotal role on the front line daily, which is so true. She thrives on building enduring relationships with industry partners, embodying a steadfast commitment to excellence. On her time off, she also likes to get speeding tickets. What the hell is this? Are you the 3 slow drivers and 2? You got a speeding ticket? Are you kidding me?
Criminal.
Oh my God.
He reduced it though.
You got a criminal speed? How fast were you going?
60 over.
Wow. My goodness. All right.
It just glides. I don't feel it.
What were you in? What were you driving today?
G-Wagon.
For G-Wagon, okay. All right. God, I feel like I have so many questions for this panel of criminals up here. How many speeding tickets? How many speeding tickets do you get, Monique? Have you had?
At least 2 a quarter.
Really?
Yeah, not bad.
I'm the only man. I haven't had a speeding ticket in a decade. What is? I feel so unaccomplished right now.
We'll have to build a panel around that.
Okay, all right. So choosing the right partner first. Find a partner that drives well. But beyond that, I want to ask. This is a question for the entire panel, because all of you are, obviously in businesses, and if you're not the owners of your business, you have to work in partnerships, whether it be realtor partners or other franchises, or even a partnership with corporate. So when you're identifying potential partners, and this is for everybody on the panel, what qualifications are you looking for, and how does that make you align your goals with that partner? So what qualities are you looking for in potential partners, and what organizational goals are you looking for alignment with that partner? Who's got the mic? Is there a second mic up here? Yeah, let's start with you, because you're working with your family.
Yeah, I think the main thing that I look for when it comes to forming a relationship is trust, first and foremost. If you don't have trust, you're not going to be successful with that person. And you have to know your own goals, what you want for yourself, and you got to know you got to know the ins and outs of your own business, and how that would translate to whoever you're partnering with, whether it's an escrow officer or a wholesaler or a buyer or an agent. If you don't know the ins and outs of your own business, you won't be able to know how to get them to work to the same goal. If I'm talking to an escrow officer, because I'm in the wholesaling world, I would definitely need to know, what are the certain rules and regulations you have to work under when it comes to a double escrow, or what disclosures do you have to do with assignments or a HUD, and then on the same end with a buyer, do you know how assignments work? What kind of deals are you looking for? Because I know the details of how to run a wholesaling transaction, I'm going to be able to put those details to work to the goal with whatever mechanism they're trying to help me get to.
Love it, love it. And for how many of you in here are wholesalers? By show of hands. Yeah, a lot of you guys. So that, I mean, you very eloquently described that, but it's true, right? If you're working with a specific buyer and they don't understand the process of assignments, that can get super tricky, right? And having to explain that, and they're like, what's this on the HUD, right? Or even with choosing title and understanding whether or not they understand what who here has ever called a title company and said, do you do double escrows? And their answer was, that's illegal. Who's ever heard that before? Yeah, and it's not, right? And so even choosing with your title partner, it's really important that that they understand what your goals are and what you're trying to accomplish, and that things are in alignment. Anybody else have a partnership they'd like to speak on? Monique.
Couple things. So being a residential realtor and looking for agents to be on my team, as well as having partnerships with Fidelity and with Jamil, I would say like number one, what comes to mind, because I am looking for agents to come onto my team, is like a big care factor. Like, do you have a big heart? Like, do you want to serve at a high level? Over ambition, over skill, and that is something that it's hard to identify right away, but I think that we have the intuition because we talk to people all the time. Right. So that's like my number one. I want to entrust you with my client, right? I want to make sure that you have all the right intentions, right? And then two is like showing up. I had one of your Astro people call me and like, hey Monique, I want to come over onto your team and be a prospector. I want to prospect for you. I said, perfect, okay. Hop onto our Zoom meeting, it's at 8 o'clock tomorrow. Well, guess who didn't show up at 8 o'clock? Okay, next. So consistency, right? Are you going to show up? Are you going to show up on time? I mean, it's a pretty simple thing, but it's hard to find, right? Day in and day out. And are you going to show up the next day and the next day? Because making like who here prospects on a daily basis? Raise your hand. Yeah, it's not fun, right? It's not sexy having to make like 50 phone calls, right? But are you going to do that day in and day out? Consistency.
Consistency is sexy. I've been saying it a long time.
It pays well.
Yes. We got to change the narrative, right? Everybody's like, ooh, he's got abs. What about an 820 credit score? What about that? I think that's fucking hot. Okay, anything else? What's your credit score, Hannah?
High.
All right. As high as 8, you got 850?
No, it's like 8 something.
8 something. Jacob, anything to add?
Yeah. So I think before you, I don't know if we're too close to Mel. So before I start looking at how I can increase my relationships, I think about my own business, and I make sure that my processes are buttoned down, and I'm not taking 2-3 days to get back to a wholesaler who needs a proof of funds letter, even though I know that wholesaler is gonna throw that proof of funds to 500 agents, and I'm gonna get phone calls asking if that guy's a real buyer. I make sure that before I'm searching for new partnerships that me and my team have the bandwidth to actually serve those people, and then we have the ability to really go on and find more.
All right, partnership structures, because these are interesting things to really look into. Actually, I have a old partner of mine in the room here, Patrick O'Sullivan, and I think we were the first partnership that I got into here in Arizona, and we've continued to do business over the years, and probably one of the best people I know in the commercial world. And then I met Hannah, and I still think you're the best. Just joking. I'm just joking. You're both incredible. So, but partnership structure. How are you structuring your partnerships? Whether internally for actual LLC structure, or the partnerships that you have. With others? Like, are you putting contracts in place? Are you getting people into documentation? I know Monique and you and I are in a partnership, but we've never documented anything. We've never put a ring on it, right? But it's okay. But it's interesting, right? Like, how do you structure specific partnerships for a hard money lender when you guys are looking at bringing in capital? I know for certain that you guys have everything buttoned up. But is there ever a time when somebody wants to write you $1 million check and you're like, I don't want that guy's money?
Yeah, I mean, there's a waiting list to get into Capital Fund 2 is what it's called, the debt fund. And, that's more of a Kevin Noah decision as far as, where is that money coming from? Do they understand that, we have the sole discretion to lend based on the assets that we're looking at? But, to a granular level, on an everyday level, with wholesalers in specific, the partnership is just text me saying that you have a buyer that needs financing. I've got Jack Gordon. I don't know if he's here tonight, but he's one of your I think acquisition guys or dispo guys, and he'll call me while he's at the property with the buyer saying, hey man, this guy's interested in hard money. What do you like? Just talk to him, guy. Talk to this guy, and he'll hand his phone over to the buyer, and I'll walk him through the process, and he'll deposit earnest, and then we close it the next day. So having the ability to work that quickly, I think you have to start yourself before you start searching for more partners who could do that as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great. How about in your brokerage? Are you sole proprietor in the brokerage, or do you have partners in that?
I'm the owner, the full owner, yes.
And why have you? So I'm going to ask you the anti question here, the anti partner, I guess, right? Why are you so anti partner?
Well, my first partnership, I didn't know what an operating agreement was, and I got screwed over pretty bad. So that's the first thing I would recommend is make sure you cross your T's, dot your I's, make sure you know what role your partner is going to be playing in the company. I know a lot of us entrepreneurs just get, at least speaking for myself, I get really excited about a new business endeavor, and doing it with someone is always more exciting and less scary in the beginning than doing it alone. And just, I jumped into it. I didn't really know anything. I was leaning on that person's expertise to kind of guide the way, and ended up getting taken advantage of and, having to lose it all and walk away after a couple years of time. But it was a great lesson, and I learned how to build and run a company, and I learned how to do a proper operating agreement and to pay for good counsel. And so same thing in the brokerage, we have, independent contractor agreements that outline every single scenario that could possibly go down. Trusting is great, but you don't really know someone until they're no longer making money off of you, and that's when their true colors come out. So I think it's important to document everything. Any business partnership is like a marriage, honestly. So make sure you sign your prenups.
Wow. Okay, man. She's not messing around. Anyone else want to add anything to that? No? Okay. Addressing conflict and setting expectations is a fun one, right? Because in any partnership, in any business, you're going to be faced with conflict. You're going to be faced with situations that are not going to go your way. Just as Hannah just described, when things aren't going the way that you want, that's when the nasty side of somebody can come out. And I wouldn't necessarily call them true colors, because that person was great at one point, and that's a true color. But when things are bad, they're a total piece of shit, which is also a true color, right? And so you want to get an understanding of someone's entirety, right? You want to know, what are you like under stress? What are you like when things are going really well, right? So with that in mind, I want to pick on Isaiah here, because you work with your family. Yeah. And you chose to launch a franchise with your brother. Now, listen, I'm in a partnership with my sister. I've been a business partner with my sister all the time, and it works. Why? Because I take the female role and she takes the male role. It's just, she tells me what to do, I say yes ma'am. It's just how it's been. If you ever watched our TV show, you'd know it's just like she's the boss, I'm the yes man, right? It's how it goes. So we understand each other, right? But with your situation, how did you decide to do this with your brother?
I had been doing acquisitions and general managing for another franchise for about 18 months. And he was a franchise specialist at corporate here, and then transitioned to dispositions. So we both collectively knew every facet of the whole the entire wholesaling world. So when the opportunity came up to get our own in the exact market that I had been working in, it was kind of a no-brainer. But yeah, like you said, my brother and I, we've known each other our whole lives, so we do know, you know, how we think, how we operate. We did get an operating agreement, but that's about the extent of it.
Do you guys follow it? Like if you guys get into a fight or an argument, are you like in the operating agreement? It says here that you're gonna do it. Like is that?
It was a template we got online just to formality.
Okay.
I mean, we don't really. I don't really worry that there's gonna be a huge conundrum.
Do you ever get scared at Thanksgiving?
How so?
I mean, Thanksgiving is when things go wrong with family. You know?
No, we're pretty close. You know, there's some crazies in our family, like there are in every family, but yeah, we're pretty close. But when it comes to the wholesaling side, setting expectations, I think that was the question, right? For how we're gonna operate or how we're gonna go about the business. Like I said, he had been doing dispositions for about 8 months, and he knew the ins and outs of the software and Podio and Odoo. I don't know that stuff, but it's for plugging in the details of the deal. I knew acquisitions, and I knew how to take a deal start to finish through escrow. So when it comes to that, it was less of, hey, I'm going to take charge of this, but more of, hey, you know more than me on this, so why don't you lead the way with that? And he said to me, hey, I don't know SHIT about taking a deal through title, so I can settle conflicts with title really well. So, or when a buyer gets messy at escrow, I know acquisition, so we kind of played to each other's strengths. Hey, you know this better, so why don't you take the lead on that? So the expectation side was more of building each other up based off of who knew more about what, and on the way I'll teach you what I know and you teach me what you know. And conflicts, they arise, but they're few and far between, and when they do, you know, we take it away from our team, who is also family members. I've got a sister and a cousin who work with us. But we take it away from the team, keep that away from them. We get on the same page about it, come with a resolved situation, a resolution to it, kind of like how Hannah said with a husband. It's like a marriage, so you gotta be able to handle it away from the kids and then come back on a unified front with a plan of attack.
Love it. Anything, Jennifer, that you'd like to add to that?
No, I was thinking what he said about conflict with escrow and title. Of course, that's my wheelhouse. But that, to me, like when you have a true partner, there is going to be things that come up. And I think, you know, having each other's back and assuming the right motivation and working together to resolve the conflict is really important.
100% agree, and I'm especially with working in the space of non-traditional real estate transactions, right? You're talking creative finance, we're talking wholesaling. There's so many. There's nuance, there's people not understanding, then there's folks who don't disclose and set the right expectations with the people that are involved. How do you know from a level of and I think this is for anybody here that wants to ask, how do you know who to work with, right? You guys have been working with Keegley on the wholesale side, you've been working with Keegley on the title side, but you've been working with us on the lending side. How do you know when you're like, yeah, they're good. These ones, not so much. How do you select? And are there red flags that you're looking at so that the future wholesalers or the people that are in here right now can think this is something I should never do, right? What's a red flag? Give me some red flags.
I think for us, we do a great job of keeping data of where our deals come from. So, for example, 1 in 4 deals that we close are wholesale transactions, and we've got a list of the best wholesalers, some of the worst wholesalers.
Do you have a list of the worst ones?
We have a running list of people that we just don't want to look at deals for or from. So Keegley definitely not on the list. Thank God, you know, they're on the top of the people we want to work with. But keeping data and remembering people throughout the years, because there was a lot of fly-by-the-night wholesalers in 2020, 2021 who I've seen their names come now and again, but they didn't know how to write a wholesale contract. They didn't disclose things. We get to title and there's title issues, and it's like, our whole process was for nothing because this individual didn't know what he was doing. So keeping data, I think, is very important, and I'm not saying to be bitter about things, but you remember when things don't go right. You work with the people who make transactions easy. Like a good title company is invaluable. So.
And I want to hear from both the ladies on this, because I think on the residential side, you know, working with wholesalers or creative investors, you're probably getting hit up more than any agent in the country, I imagine, because of how many times I say your name on the internet. And for Hannah, as commercial, like I'm sure you get hit up by lots of investors who you probably like, what's your intention? So let's start with Monique and then we'll end with Hannah.
So be an expert on pricing. Like, don't overprice a property and then make your agent go back and get a price reduction, because they're not going to use you in the future. So be an expert, right?
Know your numbers.
Know your numbers, exactly. The reason why I come back to Jamil is because when I text him a property, A, he follows up with me within about 5 to 10 minutes, which is amazing. I mean, I really get Ritz-Carlton service. B is you rarely, if ever, I can't even remember the last time we canceled a deal. Or I had to go back and get a price reduction from a seller.
I mean, how many wholesalers can say that? Like, most wholesalers have a 50-50 cancellation rate. We're batting what, 95%?
We're absolutely in the 90s.
Yeah.
And that's invaluable. That's why we have such a good partnership. Somebody asked me in the crowd, like, you know, what do you like to talk to Jamil, and you know, what do you guys?
Oh,
no,
man, you should see our texts. They're
I don't
so
like to
boring.
talk to Jamil. I just like to get his price.
She doesn't say good morning.
Our house.
Nothing. There's no friendliness in our conversations. First, her and I did about 30 deals before we ever met for coffee. Which, can you imagine, right? You do 30 transactions with somebody, and she was like, "You want to meet?" I'm like, "No."
I'm like, oh,
Why?
I like him.
Why? I
He
don't
doesn't
like
like
meetings.
meetings either.
I don't like meetings. Why should you buy me coffee? Why should I buy you coffee? We're rich. Buy your own coffee. I got work to do. Okay, cool. And she's like, I like you. I'm like, I like you too. Bye. And so, what's great though is our text in the morning. It's like there's no good morning. There's no hello. It's just address, price. Address, price. Like if her husband ever thought something was going on, he'd look and be like, that's the most boring affair. Or he'd be like, whoa, what is this they're hanging out, and what's the money for?
Yeah, he loves you actually.
I know, I love him too.
Yeah. I would just say one thing, and I know this is a very like cliche, but transparency. So obviously I'm a residential agent, 75% of my business is traditional, right? I love having the wholesale as an option, right? For clients that need, you know, this type of transaction. You know, your customer service is, you want to work with a wholesaler that's going to follow up with you within, you know, seconds, if not, you know, not seconds, but minutes, and is always going to give you the absolute truth, right? I know I pushed you guys on a property, and I'm like, as a residential agent, my average commission is about $16,000. So I thought, you know, if I'm going to continue doing wholesaling, I want Jamil to know that, because that's my goal. My goal is to at least make that on each deal. So I was very transparent on my goals. And then Jamil's like, okay, let's do it. Let's see if we can make it. Now, mind you, the client's always number one, right? So if we can't make that, that's number two, right? But at least he knows my goals, you know, as a partner, right? So being transparent in our goals. But then knowing when to say, hey, Monique, we can't accomplish that. Let's just get the deal done. Let's move forward. I respect that, because you guys did that a couple weeks ago. And I was like, how are we only making $5,000 on $1 million, you know, property? But that's what we had to do to get the deal done. We move forward. Let's go, right?
Yeah, very true.
Good communication.
Love it. Love it. Hannah.
So first off, I just try to qualify the partner or client right away, because yeah, a lot of people reach out to me for, you know, they say they want to buy real estate, and I have to qualify them. I have a list of questions like you guys probably do too.
Can you say some of them? Like, what are some of the qualification questions?
Yeah, so like what type of asset are you looking for? Are you looking for value add or stabilized? What's your experience in real estate? What states are you looking to go in? Who are your partners? Are you solo? how long have you been doing this? Where's your money coming from? All this stuff, and sometimes they're steamed out by like question 3, and I'm like, thank you very much, and I'm not a good fit for you. And so I always start my conversations with, let's have a call to see if we'd be a good fit to work together, not you get to pick me to work with me, right? It has to be a mutual understanding.
Okay.
And then a big thing for me is, intentions, obviously qualifying the person or client, and then their character, like their drive and their grit. Like when hiring real estate agents or hiring employees or assistants, it's like, I'm a believer in do what you do best and hire out the rest. So I know exactly what my dollar per hour capability is because I've made it, and any task on my to-do list that I can hire for less than that, I hire out. And that person I hire out, I'm not babysitting because I'm doing what I do best and I'm hiring out the rest, so you do that because that's what you do best. And making sure you put people in the right roles, that not just because they've been with you that they're going to start doing this role, but doing DISC personality tests and things like that to make sure that they're in a position that is their best role. Because we shouldn't be babysitting or micromanaging, and I just let people run with it. And title companies, I'm not babysitting. I don't even read contracts. Like I have an attorney. The attorney reads the contract. Like I know exactly what I do well, and everything else is hired out. And if you can't rely on that person, and they'll show you pretty quickly if they start dropping the ball. And if they don't learn from their mistakes, then that's not a good partner, and you move on and you find the next one that's better.
All right, love it. Thank you for that, guys. I want to move on to something else. I'm going to throw in an audible here because I think everyone's kind of curious because we're into Q2 right now. I think expectations on the real estate market. So none of you guys know this question, so that's great. I'm just throwing it out. We have had some expectations on where the market was going to go, how things are going to look. Fed promised some rate drops that haven't happened. Yet the market seems very resilient. And I would like to hear from all of you, from the franchise side to title and escrow to residential to commercial to lending. Where do you see Q2? For specifically, myopically in Q2, where do you see things for the market, both commercial, residential, lending, and title, and in wholesale, and then overall for 2024? And I want to hear from all of you, so I'm going to give you my mic. You start.
Me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so beginning of Q1 2024, it was slow, I'm going to be honest. We had a very slow month. January went into February was pretty slow. Then in March, which was this last month, we funded $130 million worth of loans. Arizona was at 81 million because we're in 5 different states. And thank you. And that was over 280 transactions. So a lot of our transactions are very small, 200 to 300,000 in size. So of course, when we're prospecting, I've got sales guys that make 80 to 100 cold calls a day trying to find fix and flip investors. There's going to be those people who say, well, I'm waiting for the election. I'm waiting to see what happens. And I feel like there's a lot of people who say that, but there's a lot of people who are seeing the opportunity of the people on the sidelines, and they're willing to take the risk. As far as where I see Q2 going, like I said, March was killer. It's going to be the same for at least in the immediate time, April and May. So I only have high hopes from the lending perspective because, I mean, our niche in the market is we close in 24 hours. So I'm not competing with the banks at 7, 8, 9%. I'm the guy that closes in 24 hours, and I'm only at an 11% rate. So our product makes sense for a lot of people, and I'm grateful to be part of this niche because thank goodness we're not so involved with the Fed rates. We've only raised rates one time, and that was June of 2022 when we went from 7.9%, where all the hard money guys were, to 10.9%. And I think they've raised the rates 10 times. It's been a number of times, and we haven't raised rates. So I don't know if that answers the question exactly, but from the hard money lending side of things, it's still going strong. It's because we can close quickly, and we don't. We're just not affected by the
And loan volume, you're expecting to stay steady or grow?
Yeah, we're expecting to stay steady. I mean, June of 2022, I think people who were doing business around then, that's really when the music stopped or whatever. We saw a drop off, and then since then we've been growing slowly since. And we finally hit over the $100 million mark last month in March. and we're projecting to sustain that. So I don't know what it is in the air, but people are still buying fix and flips. We do a lot of deals in Texas, and we do a lot of deals, smaller deals in Arizona. So that's what's keeping us afloat at the moment.
Thank you.
Not a lot of commercial deals. Commercial has definitely suffered, and I'm sure she can attest to that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think year-over-year commercial transactions were down like 70%, and changing on some asset classes, of course, and depending on what state you are and what metrics you're looking at. But investment sales have definitely been down a lot. Like multifamily was flying off the shelves for years, and not a lot of people are buying multifamily right now because the numbers just don't make sense. When you have to put 50% down to barely break even, it's hard to justify doing that, and then on top of all the uncertainty. I think that, in my personal business, it has picked up a bit. It was quiet, kind of similar trend like you're seeing. Last year was very slow for commercial real estate. The behavioral health, medical office buildings, and then distressed assets have really been kind of feeding my personal business in commercial, and just trying to find opportunities, because there are, like, the worst kind of market is a stagnant market, which is kind of where I feel like we've been at, where things, everybody's scared, nobody really knows what's going on, and things are kind of just sitting still. Like prices logically should have dropped a lot due to interest rates, but they really haven't dropped. Like every 1% increase in interest is like a 10% drop in purchase price for your mortgage to be the same, and we didn't have a 50% drop in property values or whatever, so that caused a little bit of stagnation. But I think with over $1 trillion worth of commercial debt maturing over the next 2 years, that's a big number, and a lot of that has been extended from last year. Like a lot of debt that was supposed to mature last year got pushed to 2024, and so I think the banks are trying to really not have a big crash happen like it did last time, and so they're trying to kind of delay and stall.
How about the bridge lenders, and what about the private guys in that regard? Because I know there's a lot of people in the value add space who were holding on to multifamily commercial assets using short-term financing for the project. Have you seen them extend out those loans and any of that creating some distress in the market right now?
Yeah, I think, I personally thought we'd start to see more deals right now especially in the multifamily space, and we really haven't. But behind closed doors, like, there are problems, and if people got
tell. So for people who in here is interested in potentially getting into wholesaling commercial? Yeah, I would imagine. So where are the opportunities coming around the corner in commercial right now? Tell us what's happening under the sheets.
So any syndications and big funds and REITs and private investors bought these properties at, for instance, I have a personal friend who funded a property on his own. He's upside down $150 million on one in Kierland, and he's upside down $120 million on one in Old Town, and those were AA assets that he purchased, and he's screwed. That's happening because when you buy a property at a 3% interest rate, and you have, like, the numbers are already skinny. You're making a 5% cap rate or a 3% cap rate. People were buying at 2% cap rates. And so when you have any adjustment in interest rate like that, especially from a 3 to a 7, there's nothing you can do. Like, that property is devalued so much. And then the banks that have lended on it are lending off of money that they have lended out, so they keep extending it because they don't have money to take, do anything with it. So it's a really interesting kind of stagnation, but the banks are trying to, sell notes or renegotiate these loans that they have out and that the investors have out on the properties. So I think there's going to be more, I hope, I don't want to say that sounds really bad, but I'm thinking that there'll be more opportunity in the multifamily space and office space especially, because there was such a massive development of multifamily over the past few years, and obviously the hybrid working has kind of continued. Industrial and retail are still doing fairly well as far as absorption numbers and things like that, but as these properties have more, as they come down more, as there's more distressed opportunities from these notes coming due, then the investors are going to start to buy them up again, and then the whole cycle just kind of restarts and repeats itself. But that's kind of what's needed to happen. I know a lot of people are very optimistic on, they're just going to lower rates again and it's going to be a frenzy again, but I don't understand how middle-class people can pay $1.5 million for a 3-bedroom house. I think the numbers just are tough to make sense, and I think there needs to be some give for the market to settle and reset again before they're not going to drop rates down to 3% again, or we're just going to have a whole other issue.
Thank you for that insight. Very great. Speaking of that, so she brought up a good point, and oddly enough, on my way here, so I spent the afternoon at a shelter, a homeless shelter, today, and it was one of the most eye-opening situations that I'd ever had to, go to. Here's why. So when Bobby was with me, so he got to see this, and I don't know how much we'll be allowed to share on social media, but you guys might be able to see it. But here's what we learned, right? Show of hands, who here in the room expects that homelessness is caused predominantly by drug addiction or mental illness as primary reason number one? Show of hands. Drug addiction and be honest, it's totally fine. Drug addiction and mental health. Okay. Yeah, I would have thought more of you thought that. It's not. The number one cause of homelessness in Maricopa County and actually across the United States is affordability. That's it. There were so many people post-COVID who just couldn't afford the renewal of the lease. It was staggering. The number of working poor, people living in their cars with full-time jobs that across the entire country. And so in the residential space, because she brings up an incredible point, how has affordability been affected? What do you see happening, for this quarter? Do you think there's going to be pressure coming down in the residential space? I don't think so. I think that prices are going to continue to rise. And this is an existential problem. Then how does the investor community do something about it? And of course, anytime that there's an issue, there's an opportunity. And I think that there's a potential opportunity in affordable housing that if the right minds come together to help solve a problem, we can. But what are your thoughts on this?
We need to have another mastermind about that and put our heads together. Anybody want to guess what the average price in Maricopa is for a single family home?
$475.
350, 550, 600.
575
Whoa.
is the average. I know. So
575.
would you like to know what's happening in residential real estate, or my little Monique Walker team?
Well, are we all investing in Arizona here? Yeah, your little team.
My little team, yeah. So there's just three of us. We just had our best quarter compared to the last 15 months. I don't know necessarily if it was market driven. I think it was relationship driven. So for those of you who are who have contacts with realtors, I encourage them to keep in contact with their past clients, because that's where your repeat and referral, and that's where your longevity is, right? That's where the money comes from. Those long-term relationships that I've had for the last 10, 15 years is really paying off, and it's a blessing. A lot of the key areas, and I don't know key areas, but maybe the higher end areas like Arcadia and Central Phoenix and parts of Moon Valley, Scottsdale, they're all performing really well. There's not a lot of inventory. There's a lot of buyer demand. There's usually multiple offers. I just listed a property in La Hacienda, which is 3rd Street in Thomas. 1 day on the market, full price offer at 1.1. There was 8 showings, and there's just a lot of activity. It's surprising, right? Like, pricing is high, even though rates are higher. I'm telling my team we've got to push the next 3 months is key. With the NAR and the laws changing, I don't know what's going to happen, so don't ask me. But what I do know is that we all will sharpen our skills, and we're all going to be better at presenting our value, so that we can earn the business, because we know that a lot of realtors are going to unfortunately not be able to sustain, right, to compete in the new environment that we're going to be in. So it's the spring market. We're going to have a great next 3 months, just because seasonally that's what happens, right? It's just because of the weather. We're not too close to the election, so people are still making decisions. Buyers are getting used to the rates. Like, this is the new norm. They're not fighting it anymore like I feel like they were last year. So I think that we're going to have a next, really good quarter and capitalize on that. Tell your agents to capitalize it, because I think the second half is going to be a little bit different, right? Election, maybe if rates come down, of course, there'll be more buyer demand, prices will go up, but that's, the if.
Are you seeing more than 2 people getting on a mortgage right now to qualify for these?
Yeah, typically.
Like what on average?
Like husband,
wife, and a kid?
Yeah. No, it's like 3 buyers?
Yeah.
No.
Still husband and a wife?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or husband and a husband, or wife and a wife, yeah? Okay.
Partners.
Okay. Jen?
I mean, I agree with everything everyone else is saying. I mean, that's what we're seeing as well. I mean, we had an amazing first quarter. Surprisingly, we did not think it was going to be as strong as it was. And now we're actually hiring to staff up our escrow branches, because March was one of our biggest months we've had in a long time, and everyone's feeling it. And we see the next few months continuing to be the same. So we're hearing all the same things that you guys are. So I think it's going to be a strong year.
Isaiah, on the wholesale side, everybody's itching. What do you think's going to happen?
I think the main thing when it comes to wholesaling is, I mean, obviously I try to keep tabs on the residential market, but flippers are always flipping, at least the real ones. They flip in a bad market, they flip in a good market because retail buyers still buy retail properties regardless, because they're the people that, even though interest rates are high on that La Hacienda deal, you had an offer in a day. If that was flipped, it would have been the same thing. And in Vegas kind of reflects Phoenix, pretty much. So I think our best buyers, at least, they flip year round, and they flip regardless of the market, because all that changes for them is, what am I buying the deal at? And what am I going to sell it for? And the same thing, the retail buyers, all they're changing is, all they're thinking about is, what's my rate going to be? What can I afford?
Right.
Based on that, I'm still open to buying a retail property that was just flipped by somebody, but now it's just a question of what price can I afford? And the only thing that really changes for a wholesaler is how much supply we have. I don't know, as far as Q1, I think we started out pretty strong. February was our best month as a company. And I think the supply is going to pick up. I mean, sellers still want top dollar. Like you said, back in, I think it was June of 22, it started to stagnate and sellers started to get more realistic. And then like middle of last year, they're like, oh, the market's picking up again. Now we can go top dollar again. But that's still, it's still, they're still relatively reasonable with prices. And obviously you're not going to be able to get every property that needs work at the best price, but then that's just a question of prospecting. But yeah, the deals are still there, and the buyers, the good buyers are always going to be there, because they still make a living. They don't transition to a day job or something else the way a lot of average real estate agents do.
Or even commercial syndicators. I mean, I gave $250,000 to a group that were in commercial syndications that, they were highly, highly referred to me. And I called the guy the other day and I was like, hey, how's the project going? He's like, I don't know, man. I sell diabetes test strips now.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. I mean it. That's what happened.
Yeah.
He's not in the game anymore. He's selling diabetes test strips. So, I mean, that's what happened in the multifamily syndication world, so.
Yeah, there are a lot of real estate agents that do it part-time.
Yeah.
Especially in huge metro areas, because there's so much competition. I think like 85% of agents are not licensed after 3 years. I think 85% of new agents aren't licensed, especially in Phoenix, because it's big, which means, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity, but a lot of that opportunity is, it's so saturated with the new agents and also the ones that have been there for a long time. So there's going to be turnover with investors, and there's going to be turnover with real estate agents. Wholesalers kind of have a specific ability to, if you stick with it and stick with the calls and the texts and the relationships and continue your communication and continue prospecting, regardless of the market, if it's good or bad, all you have to change is what you buy it at. And your investors, they don't turn to a day job the way a lot of agents do. So they'll always be around as long as you bring value.
Love it. Guys, give it up for our panel. Anybody have any questions for these folks? You guys want to get to do some Q&A, or do you want to get to network? You got a question here? We'll do a few here.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be in your presence and yours again. Yes, of course, always. So my question is, I know the future of relationships are powerful, and getting to actually know the person and building that relationship is what sets the foundation for future partnerships with them and other people. But for new investors or wholesalers, what's that thing that probably pushes most momentum for somebody that is looking to start with building a relationship, whether it be like consistent follow-up, or if the person that they're reaching out to isn't consistent on their own follow-up and they keep being persistent on it but not too persistent, or maybe too persistent? What would you say is the number one factor that that person needs to show that they're both worthy to be a partner, and that you feel like that they can help to further you and that you can further them?
You speaking mainly on the acquisition side or the disposition side? Like when you're
Were you talking about agents, lenders, brokers, title?
buyers?
Probably all of them.
All of them, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, go ahead.
So my philosophy has always been to serve that person. So if you want to build a relationship with someone, you build them, whether it's personally, professionally, financially. If you haven't read Go Giver, it's my favorite book in the whole world. It's like this big, you could read it in a day or two if you're slow. But yeah, so serve. So every single person I meet, it's how can I help you? How can I serve you? And I think a lot of people in business, they're just very self-centered, and they're like, how are you going to help me? Nobody cares how they can help you. It's how you can help them. And when you put your limb out to help someone, whether it's out of your field or in your field or whatever, that person is going to, they're going to be a walking marketing campaign for you, because they're going to be like, this person's amazing. They served me. They did this. Here, maybe they don't end up being your client, but they're going to be preaching about you when they hear about someone who needs your type of services. And I give referrals all the time from people that I never did business with because they don't buy commercial real estate or they don't do whatever. And it's because I help them serve their business.
Awesome. Monique, from your perspective as a residential agent?
We have such a unique thing, right? So I don't have anybody else, but I would say that you wanna be.
When I started, man, I cold called you.
You did. You cold called me, and there was something different about you. I mean, there was just we had a connection from maybe, I would say I was like a little skeptical on the first call, and I was like, all right, I'll entertain this call, And then the second one, I just remember it was like talking to a friend. Right? And then I was like laughing, and we were having, I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy got my attention. It's like 10 minutes. Wow. So I guess like being just a normal human being, hopefully they'll give you that time. But you want to be top of mind, right? When they do have that in front of that distressed seller. So you're asking follow-up, be the follow-up king. So that they know your first and last name, so they can text you and call you right away. And what does that look like? I would say like at least once or twice a week, so that they remember who you are, right? Yeah.
Sorry, just to piggyback off that a little bit. When it comes to acquisitions and wholesaling, and you're going to be talking to a lot of agents a lot of the time. You got to just get used to the grind on that. I don't know, Monique sounds a lot nicer than a lot of agents I've spoken to. A lot of them want nothing to do with you. So that first call, you want to be personable, be friendly, but that first call is going to have to, you got to get to the point pretty quickly. Hey, I'm so-and-so. I got your number from whatever website, and I saw that you're still an agent. Are you able to help me find a property? Be personable, but make it quick and to the point, and then follow up is key. My brother just did, he got under contract, the biggest deal we've ever done, on his 11th month of following up, and some of those follow-up texts didn't even get a response, but he got a call out of nowhere, said, hey, I have this property, you've been blowing me up pretty consistently, so I wanted to give you a shot, and it was our biggest deal to date.
What you guys make on it?
$74,000.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, that was
Good job.
just a month ago. As far as the best thing you can bring to the table, bring your own personality to it. Learn the ins and outs of the business, but like I said, with playing to your own strengths, bring that to the table, and that's the value you can bring. If you're good at I don't know, organization, you can have the best start to finish whatever with paperwork, or if you're really good at talking to people, you can build relationships and allow them to come back to you, and you guys can build off of each other. But yeah, like in The Go-Giver, she's a coffee genius at the end, and that allows her to get connected with just the right person just because she was a coffee genius. But it's not like she was networking for that. It just happened because she was good at it. So be good at what you're doing and allow that to bring your own personality to it. Allow that to filter into the rest of the networking. Yes.
Lending, on the lending side?
Yeah, I think everyone's pretty much saying the same thing, and it's true. Be mutually beneficial to whoever you're talking to. I have a list of wholesalers that I like dealing with on my desk, so if I take a phone call, someone says, hey man, just closed my last flip, do you know anybody who has any properties? And it's the people who are just normal, the people who just talk to me like a human. They don't try to put any special pizzazz or sound like a robot that I refer people out to. And then following up, like I said, if you just send a text to those people that you're trying to get connected with, you don't bug them, you don't send 5,000 texts in a day. I think you get your point across that you're willing to serve and you're willing to be mutually beneficial. I mean, personally, I'm always following up on larger deals. I find myself now not really doing a lot of fix and flip deals like I used to, and whether it's a huge multifamily deal in Kierland or a $7 million spec build in PV, it's just following up with that individual and making sure they know that you're there to just help them. And I had a deal since August of 2023. I'm getting it closed, I think, tomorrow with Magnus Title. It's a $7 million spec build in Paradise Valley. There were days, months where he just wouldn't respond to me, but I just let him know, hey man, I'm still here, ready to get this funded in the next 48 hours. Let me know when you need me. And it worked out, and I think that's important to remember. So.
Yeah, don't make every text about business.
Right. Yeah.
Reach out to them sometimes, like, hey, how you doing? Make little notes.
Different.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
let's say, 70% of, 70%
of our business comes from lead follow-up. So just keep that in mind. It's a lot.
On the listing.
Anyone
side or
else?
the buyer side?
on the listing side.
Hi, my name is Manuel. We talked a lot about the rosy side of partnerships, but wanted to talk a little bit about the darker side. Have you guys, any one of you guys, been involved in a situation with a partner where you strongly considered taking this partner to court? And okay, immediately, yes. And what made you stop or made you go forth with it?
I can speak to that.
Yeah, I think it's you.
Yeah, so yes, the thought has crossed my mind, but on that one partnership, I didn't have an operating agreement, so I was pretty much screwed in my opinion. But the biggest thing for me, I know a lot of people go to court and do all this stuff, but I think about how much energy is that going to take from me? How much time is that going to take from me? How much money is that going to take from me? And how much attention is that going to take from me being able to go analyze the mistakes I made, analyze what went wrong, and go build something way bigger and better and do it right the next time. So I've never taken anyone to court. I could have a few times. I've had multiple situations through transactions or partnerships or whatever. I know some people that literally got rich from suing people, and it just makes me so angry. But that was the thing for me, is like, sometimes it's easier to just move on and be the bigger person, and I'm like, you know what, hopefully that was a blessing to you and you needed it more than I did, and I learned my lesson and moved on. So but with that, you know, it would have been nice to, in some of those situations, like now, even though I still don't sue, I still make sure I have the documentation where I can, just in case, because you need to protect yourself on this at the same time.
From the lending side, it's so black and white. You make your payment, or we're going to take the house back. There's no room for error. There's no, hey man, you know, I'll pay you next month. It's like, no, you signed a 40-page contract telling me you're going to make the payment between the 1st and the 10th. You didn't make the payment, so we charge you a late fee. But then you did make that payment, so then we put you in 29% default. And then you didn't make that for a month, we're taking a foreclosure. So it's a set process with these partnerships that, you know, in my future investment deals, that's what I've grown to know. I've seen so many partnerships fail because it was a handshake agreement. They met at a networking event and they thought they were best friends or brothers from another mother, and it didn't work out. Personally, that's how I see it, is it just has to be black and white. That's how lending works, and that's how we protect our investors' dollars, and I don't see any other way to do it. But I guess people like Jamil and Monique, they just have something special about them. But if I'm doing something, it's got to be in writing, black and white.
Well, I mean, I might as well bring up, you know, I have one of my old partners here. He came all the way from, this guy's got children, family. He drove all the way from the other side of town to come here to support me, to come see me hang out and, you know, spend some time. We haven't been business partners for how long, Patrick?
Probably 6 years.
6 years. But we ended, when you end a partnership or you do things right, with care, with love. Not saying that there wasn't problems and that, you know, there wasn't whatever. I mean, I'm sure I was the cause of all of it. But at the same time, when things aren't, if things don't work or don't align, that's okay. Communication, man, it's so key. It's so, if you got to a point where you got to take somebody to court, right? Then communication broke down there, or it wasn't even there from the start. I think those red flags were probably apparent right out the gate, and excitement and other emotions got ahead of, even Hannah talked about it, right? Like, you're excited, just like, oh my God, let's just do this, and there's so many red flags, and there was so little communication. It was emotion based rather than like business based. And so I think if you communicate well and you deal with just good people who want to see everybody win, then if things don't work out, you can walk away, still be friends, and, you know, 6 years later, be hanging out with each other in the same room and like drive across town to hang out with each other. Like, that's what a partnership should look like when it's done, right? It shouldn't be, let's go to court and be warring with each other. That to me is like, there's still high school involved in that partnership, you know? Anybody else?
And I think to add, I didn't mean to make it dark and gloomy about
No, but we
taking
get it.
or whatever.
Yeah, we get it.
But to be true, to be honest, I can think of at least 5 or 10 borrowers who we've taken properties back and we still lend to them. We still give them loans, and it's because the contract was for that property. And more oftentimes than not, the secret side of lending is we probably make more money taking it back and finishing the project and selling it than you just making your interest payment. So in that regard, because it's, you know, a contract for this property and a separate contract for that property, there's plenty of times where we take people to foreclosure, we become whole, we make money at, you know, while doing it, we still lend to those individuals and we still have a successful partnership at the end of the day. And that happens quite a bit, so.
You see why I give them my money? Because you said the secret side of lending is when we take the property back, we make more money. That's so good. Okay, last question and then we'll wrap it up.
Question for the whole panel, including you. What really took your position or company from being kind of middle ground to being the top dog without saying drive?
Social media.
Okay.
Personal branding, social media, getting out there talking. If I hadn't done that, if I hadn't turned the camera on and stepped out of my own way, because I was in my way, and it was funny because Brent Daniels, my Instagram picture was an owl. I was invisible on social media. Pace sent me a DM and I responded to him 3 weeks later. Like that's how like not involved in social media I was. But then I decided, and you know, Keegley was operating. We were doing a lot of deals. It was quiet though. I was behind the scenes. In fact, I used to tell people, don't tell people who I am. I just want to stay anonymous. That actually backfired because like when you tell people not to say something, they say it. And it was good because then that actually built more business, and it was like counterintuitive, but it worked. But then social media for me, building a personal brand was by far one of the most incredible things for Keegley as a business, for myself as a you know media team or a company, and even just relationships and partnerships. I mean, you know, I got to meet Hannah through kind of through social media. I was in the mall interviewing random people, and Bobby knew Hannah, and so I asked her a question, and now we're homies, right? And so I think that and she probably wouldn't have talked to me, but she knew who I was from social media. So if some strange person walks up to you in the middle of the mall, and you know, she's probably gets approached by people, right? So I'm like, hey, most times she's gonna be like, leave me alone, right? You kind of were like, leave me alone, a little bit.
You didn't listen.
I was like, no, come on, say something. But you knew who I was, and so my personal brand preceded me, right? So that helped me a lot. That's mine.
I don't mean to hog the mic, but I'm sure we'll go down the line. I mean, I started when I was 18, straight out of high school. I started cold calling, making 150, 200 cold calls a day, targeting fix and flip investors. I've grown my personal business from that to I now have 8 or 9 sales guys underneath me, and I'm hiring a commercial LO. I'll meet him, he's over there, and branching out to different states. So with all that being said, it's not an overnight success. I know there's some real estate gurus who say, oh, you can make $50,000 without putting any money into it. Well, it's true, but it doesn't happen overnight. It's something that you have to stay consistent at, and it's a lot of cold calls. That's how I got where I'm at. It's a lot of cold calls, and teaching and replicating yourself, and having someone underneath you who can do it as good as you, if not better than you. That's what I found helps grow your personal business.
For me, so far, I'm just now starting the personal brand journey and having a bigger outreach through social media and podcasting and things like that. But up until this point in my journey, the biggest catalyst for me was putting my mental and physical health at the forefront of everything I was doing. Beforehand, work and business was my void to not be miserable in my real life and my real environment, and that was kind of my outlet. But I was really a miserable person inside and out, and I didn't have relationships with people. I didn't trust people. I didn't like people. I didn't all those things. So it was just kind of me, myself, and I. So once I became a millionaire and financially independent and all those things, and I was still miserable, that's when I realized like I really need to step back and figure out who I am and put my health at the forefront. So making time to work out, making time to meditate, look inward for the solutions like we talk about instead of outward for those solutions. And once I became the true person who I really was and wanted to be and was thriving, then, oh hey Jesse, then everything just started falling into place, and I started attracting all of those right people that catalyst myself and my business to all new heights. And now my circle and my network is just like everybody that just fills me with joy and makes me energized and provides so much value both ways, and life is just amazing now, and that was the biggest catalyst for me.
I'll answer this a little more tactically, because that was beautifully said. When I was a younger agent and I was looking to like double my business, or those years that I had like big growth, 20 or 30% increases, I can go back and say 2 things. Like number one, it was all about the prospecting, right, and the consistency. So there was some years that I contacted 10,000 people, right, and that's when I was like massively, prospecting. But the growth also happened when I had multiple sources. So at the beginning, so when you're talking to your agents, you know, you'll find that some agents really like expireds or cancels or for sale by owners, and then they ignore their database and their sphere, right? So now I'm very good at time blocking, well, not all the time, but I try to be. And have, you know, I've got my attorneys, I've got my probate, I do my circle prospecting around properties that I sell. So just have a wider range of sources and not just focus on one or two. That's when I saw my biggest, you know, growth, you know, within a year. Yeah.
I would say be your true authentic self, for sure. Be a master at whatever it is that you do, whatever you're good at, whatever your strength is, and surround your village with people that support you. And it's never about one person, it's about the people that help you be the best version of yourself. So for me, it's, you know, the title side, the escrow side, our admin side, like we all work so well as a team. It's never just one of us who is growing because of one.
Mainly phone calls and texts. You gotta embrace the suck when it comes to that. It's not always fun. It's fun to get deals. It's fun to close deals. It's fun to see a wire hit the account, but that doesn't happen without hard work on the front end and tweaking it as you go. What worked on that call? Why'd that person respond to this text? Why did that text get blocked? You know, you gotta sort through all that. And then what propels it is finding the repeat buyers and repeat agents, making sure you keep in touch with the people that seem like they're gonna stick around. Like my brother has a buyer who he thinks is kind of a jerk, that kind of responds whenever he feels like it, but my brother sticks with it, and we had a little bit of a slow March, and they bought three properties from us in January and February, and came back. Like, he called my brother recently, hey, where are the properties? Why haven't you sent me anything? So, I mean, even though he's a punk, they stick around, and if you stick with it and you continue to find properties, you'll always bring value, and the investors continue to come back because you do have value to bring. So,
Love it. One more time for the panel, guys. This is great. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your evening and blessing us with your personalities, your knowledge, your experience, expertise. I love you all. Thank you. Guys, enjoy the sandwiches, talk away, exchange phone numbers, all the things. You're here to network. Later.